You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Welcome to another powerful episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am your host, Phil Better, the podcast mogul. And today we have a truly inspiring guest whose story is a testament to resiliency of the human spirit and the transformational power of the positive mindset. Our guest today has faced some of life's most challenging obstacles, from experiencing divorce, staggering debt, and the tragic loss of a child, to navigating the struggles of being a single mom in an unfulfilling job. She has endured more than most. However, she refused to let her circumstances define her. Instead, she chose to rise above and take control of her life, embarking on a transformational journey that led to financial freedom and improved health and wellness. Through her journey, she discovered the incredible power of mindset. She learned that shifting her perspective and believing in herself were essential to overcoming obstacles and achieving success. With each challenge she faced, she cultivated resiliency and self-confidence that fueled her determination and growth. Today, she's here to share her incredible story, the lessons she's learned along the way, and how she now empowers other women to achieve their own financial freedom and personal well-being as the founder of Wealthy Women Coaching. Her journey is a powerful reminder that no matter how daunting the challenges, with the right mindset and determination, success is within reach. Please join me in welcoming the remarkable Marla Osner to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Marla, welcome.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here, Phil. I really appreciate your time today.
I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with the audience and allowing me to conduct this interrogation, if you will. It's a casual conversation between friends. I want to get to know you a bit more, but as always, why? We touched on it, but why did you become an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So, it all started 14 years ago after having a baby, and they say having kids changes your life, and it does in like a million ways in one. But soon after I had my son, I ended up getting a divorce. I did lose my daughter prior to having my son, so there's that part of the backstory. And in that divorce process, we had a lot of debt. We're losing our house, fighting with mortgage company. And I was sitting in a Chick-fil-A parking lot one day and crying on the phone with the mortgage company. And my son was stroking my hair at 3 years old and saying, "Mommy, it's okay. It's going to be fine." And at that point, I was $120,000 in debt. And I was like, I do not want my son to grow up feeling all of the stress and trying to console me as the parent and tell me it's going to be okay. And so that was like my pivotal turning point. And from there, I started figuring out how to get out of debt. And it took me a good 10 years. And once I did that, I went into the wealth building mode. And I thought, God, I am not the only one struggling with this. I'm not the only woman who's gone through a divorce. And so it really kind of pushed me, besides being a nurse practitioner and being unhappy in it in general, it pushed me to want to help other women to get out of debt, to learn how to manage their finances, to not have, no offense, mansplaining, and feeling like, I was asking stupid questions, but I just didn't know the answers to them. And so I've kind of built this two programs where I teach women how to get out of debt, and then I teach them what to do once they're out of debt to start building that wealth and making sure that they're financially secure. And that's sort of how it all happened in a summed up version.
No, I love it. I love that your main goal is to help other women get out of and avoid the pitfalls that you had,
Yeah.
and avoids being in a Chick-fil-A parking lot with their child stroking their hair while they're on the phone. I love that mission, and it speaks to me. The reason I started this podcast was to help others understand that there's a plethora of ways online to make a living instead of doing the traditional 9 to 5 or being a nurse practitioner. When you finally did get out of debt, the relief you felt obviously was incredible.
There's no words, honestly. It was like, everyone's like, oh, you should celebrate. And I literally just bawled because it was like this release of tension and just years of, carrying around an extra, 50 pounds of just all of it, the divorce. It was like, once that was done, everything sort of felt like a closure, if you will,
Like a full closure, starting a new chapter, starting afresh. And what was it that started your spurring into the wealth building? Like, was there a book? Was there a course? What was it that said, hey, this is where I want to go?
Yeah. So it's funny. I'm remarried. And my husband has always been very good with money. His family, he grew up with financially intelligent parents. And he basically was like, girl, what are you doing? Like, you're making good money as a nurse practitioner. You should be, having a lot more money in the bank than you do. And, he was, of course, supportive and proud of me paying everything off. But he was like, let's, kind of focus down. And so he really was the one who kind of pushed me to start figuring out investing and learning more about it. And really, we live below our means, but really buckling down and living below my means so that I could build that nest egg.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Having a partner that helps you invest in yourself is so incredibly important and helpful in the long run of your success. With being a single mom, going on this journey of debt, like elimination to wealth building, was there a point where you felt that it was finally turning the tide?
Yes. I mean, I had in the learning process, we always have 2 feet forward, 1 foot back, 3 feet forward, 1 foot back. But I was always going in like a positive direction. I think that once I really I grew up with parents who filled voids with but spending money, basically. And I think that was something that I learned. And I learned that, we kept up with the Joneses. We lived in a nice house and, we wanted to have the things the neighborhood kids had and, their houses were beautiful and yada, yada. And so once I learned I didn't need all of that to be happy, and I got my mindset about money down pat, I really felt like I could focus and get rid of that debt at a generous pace, with less of that sort of backstepping and forward and backward. I prioritized my non-negotiable spending and then got rid of the frivolous stuff. And for me, the non-negotiable was experiences. I wanted to take my son to, go to Florida to, there's a safari in Florida, believe it or not. I wanted him to feed the rhino. And, that was a priority for me. I wanted him to have that experience. And so once I realized that was what was important to me, the other things were easy to give up, to sacrifice, if you will. But it didn't feel like a sacrifice because I knew the things I was spending money on were what was really important at the time.
You were in essence, you were saving up for a bigger more validating purchase than just a mini, a Starbucks coffee every day of the week, which some people need. But at the same time, you're like, if I don't have this coffee, that means we get to have a bigger experience at the
Yeah,
event. So it's a sacrifice, but at the same time, like you said, it's investing in an experience. Uh,
absolutely.
and as you learned more about money, because money is your personal finances is something that I think should be taught in school, and hopefully one day we can get that taught in school. So unfortunately, your job will may be out of your coaching career will be out if that happens, but I think on to other things. Um, when you were finally like you got down, you figured out your non-negotiables, you had your system in place. When did you realize like, oh, others need this? Was there a moment in that journey, or was it after everything's been paid off and you were investing, you were learning the proper financial methods forward to building that beautiful nest egg, that wealth, generational wealth?
Yeah. So as I was marking my progress with my friends and family and just like chatting about it and stuff, people started asking questions like, what are you doing? It's like when you lose weight. Oh, what did you do? And everybody expects like there's some easy magic pill, magic answer, and it's not. But I started talking about like the mindset pieces and, how I would trick myself into, like putting a bunch of things in my Amazon cart and going, I probably don't really need all of them. So I would just close Amazon and I would leave it there for a few days and I would come back and then I would delete some things that I was like, yeah, I really didn't need that. Like I lived without it for 3 days. Right. And so just like talking about the hacks and things that I was doing. And in doing that, people ask more questions and more questions. I was like, we all need this, right? Like America, we just are like supply, demand, keep up with the Joneses. Like we need to make it more normalized to ask questions about money, to understand the finances, to realize that it's okay not to have everything that everybody else has and to have a nest egg instead. And I started really focusing on women, but it's funny that you talk about learning in school because I now have a 14-year-old. And so we started talking to him about finances when he was about 10. And we opened him up a brokerage account. And, he now has his own business cards. He has little side jobs that he does. He's got a, let's see, 5-figure, brokerage account at this point. And
I wish I'd 14. I had that.
I know, right? Me too. Me too. I'd probably in a much different place. But so having these conversations and then having his friends over and just like here and there talking about things, I've actually started to put together a program for teenagers because I think it's so important to hit them before they get into the trouble part. And so that's something that's like, near and dear to me, aside from obviously women
Mhm.
is getting that younger generation before they make all the mistakes that many, many of us have done.
Yes, the credit card at 18 is very, very ill-advised when you don't understand all
Yeah.
that fun stuff.
And they
Um,
sell it to you like it's magic, it's you just add to it. It's not a big deal, but it's a big deal.
it is. I remember I used to work at the fraud department of a major financial institution for
Yes.
credit cards. And one conversation a buddy of mine had beside me went, wait, I have to pay it off every month?
Oh,
Yeah. Um, so yes, I'm very glad that you're putting a course together for teenagers.
yeah.
Hopefully by the time my nephew is of a teenage age, you have a very good course and he's going straight into that course.
That'd be amazing.
Specifically because I want him to be off on the best foot. And I know his mother is already starting him off well, but never hurt to have someone who has a course ready for the
Yeah.
teenagers. Um,
Yeah.
but when you were you've created obviously courses. Your website is a fantastic preview to that. What was it like making your first course? Because that it's different for everybody, and I love when I have entrepreneurs that have courses because they give different experiences. So, what was it like making your first course?
So at first I thought it was going to be easy, right? Like, you just pop on and you start talking and it's great. I am very good at putting it all down on paper and being like, hey, here's my topic and here's this and here's that. And, I actually started with an outline and then built it out from there on paper. But then breaking it up into little chunks and stuff like that, I'm at heart always a learner. And so I could like delve into the computer for hours and get completely lost in learning and watching videos and reading. And I had to realize that not all of my audience feels the same way, and that they need little chunks that they can bite off and, kind of mull over and then come back and go, hey, I understand that. Or, I don't, I need to ask questions. And so really for me, learning how other people learn and how other people pull material in. So now I have like a mixture of video, I have open office hours, and then I also have written content so that those people who learn differently still get value from the programs.
Love it. I love that you're incorporating the different learning styles of people into your course instead of just being one style and done. Um, with this style, have you felt a different type of customer come in? I know you primarily focus on on women on this avenue to help them out of that, and generally most of us have an archetype of our ideal client. Do you find with this different learning style that you have implemented that you get maybe variations of your archetype?
So I've had some women ask me about bringing their spouses in. I really like to keep the program sacred to women because I do still feel like as much as we're, 2024, there is that fear of necessarily asking dumb questions in front of men or what have you. And so for the people that want to have something with their spouse where they work on things together and learn together, I will do those privately, but I don't bring them into my group because I really want women to feel like they can ask any question without, feeling dumb or feeling like, oh my God, I should know that or what have you. And so I just keep it an unintimidating, area for them.
Okay, I like that. I like that, sticking very close to the avatar of your persona. How how was it creating the culture of your group? Creating that openness for them to feel that it's accessible to ask those quote unquote dumb questions.
Yeah, so it's still a little bit of a challenge, to be honest with you. Some people have been in there long enough where they're very comfortable just speaking out. Some of them, still I'll get like a DM, hey, I have a question about, can you speak on that? Absolutely. I actually recently just posted, if you are uncomfortable because you know people in the group or, you just feel like, I can't believe I'm asking this question, post it anonymously because everybody can learn from your question and my response, and other people can put input. Because again, what works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for everybody. I went through, God, I don't even know, probably 10 budgeting apps before I realized that I just didn't like any of them and made my own spreadsheet. So, like, just because it works for me that way doesn't mean it works for you that way, doesn't mean it works for her that way. You know what I mean? And so I love hearing varied opinions or varied ways of thinking. And I think by posting and asking questions, we all benefit from it and see how other people view things also.
I like that. I'm wondering, based on your experiences, what are three practical tips that you would offer to single mothers who are struggling to achieve that financial stability and personal fulfillment?
Yeah. So, you have to take time for you. That's first and foremost. I think as parents in general, whether you're a man or a woman, you tend to pour into your kids before you pour into yourself. And, let's just use the word return on investment, right? You cannot continue to pour into them and drain yourself and deplete yourself. So, you have to fill your cup, whether that means you put them to bed and you take 20 minutes to read something, even if you're exhausted, or you ask a family member to watch them so you can take a walk. Whatever it is that you need to clear your head, to focus, to feel good about you, that's number one. Because if you can't do that, you aren't going to focus on the money. You're not going to, you're just not going to be in a headspace for it. And it's very easy as a single parent to lose yourself. So that's one. Secondly is, there's in terms of like how you're going to keep your finances down. If you need a food bank, don't be too proud. Go to a food bank, get your groceries so that you can pay the electric bill if that's what you have to do, because you have to keep the light and the heats and, everything else on. So you can use community resources, you can use thrift shops, you can use food banks, you can ask friends, you can split meals with other families that are local or other moms. I love the idea, and I wish it would catch on more, is these women who buy a house together and they share in the responsibility of the kids. They share in the price of the house. They share in the utilities. And it really just makes sense, because if one of you is working, somebody's home to watch all of the kids, and that saves you on daycare, childcare, all of that stuff. So I love an idea like that. And I've seen a couple of them on Facebook and, around. So using your core people to really help you build. And then lastly is just looking at your finances. I think we forget to do that. We kind of just buy things that we think are a necessity. But when you really sit down and you look at your credit card bills and your statements, you'll find the holes if you look and ask yourself, did I really need that? Do I really need it? Is it a necessity or is it a want? And sometimes that's hard, because there is a fine line sometimes. But really sitting down and saying, okay, I absolutely need this because my kids need it, or I need it, or whatever, to survive, versus it would be nice to have.
Do you, because you bring up the ladies buying a house together, it harks to what I'm seeing more and more of a community building. Like, we see it online. Obviously, you have your groups, and there's the Facebook groups, the school groups. All these organizations, businesses have created these communities. Do you feel that we need to go back to more of a community-based approach for growth?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I've had this conversation many times. We used to have a village, right? The kids would get yelled at by the neighbor and they would not misbehave because they knew everybody was watching them. And now I feel like we're so afraid to talk to each other and tell each other, like, Johnny did this or Sarah did that. I say this tongue in cheek, but if you need to beat my kid because he did something inappropriate, go ahead. I can't be watching him all of the time, so if you see him do something inappropriate, tell him, and then tell me so that I can address it too. But I feel like we don't take care of each other. Perfect example. I was on the FB today, on the Facebook, and someone was complaining about the neighbor who left dirty cat litter in a bag on the back porch. She wanted to sit on her deck and felt like it was smelly, and she just didn't like it. And she wanted to call the homeowners association. And I said, well, why don't you just reach out to her? Maybe she's struggling to pick it up, or, she's depressed or having a bad day, whatever the case may be. And there was so many people that were bashing this woman because she left her dirty cat litter outside. Turns out she's very obese. She struggles. And I'm offer to help her. Why does it have to be so mean? Why does everything have to be she did this, he did that? Just everybody take care of each other. I'm not looking for a free ride, but check on your peeps.
I like that. And with that feeling, do you find your community that you have created with all your clients and the people who are learning from you, do you feel that there's this community being built, this village that has been created, that they're checking in on each other?
Yeah, so I would say I don't think they're checking in on each other privately. I've not heard any of that. However, we celebrate wins. Somebody just paid off debt. So there was a big congratulation post and everybody jumped in that's amazing, good hard work, all of that stuff. So I think there's a lot of support. There's a lot of community. There's a lot of encouragement. Outside of the group, I don't know of anybody who's specifically talking to each other that I've heard of.
Okay. But of course, with the celebratory group posts, and that is building a community of winners. To celebrate each win is important, and to get that recognition is important as well. I'm interested to know, because you're an avid learner, which can be a detriment to entrepreneurs, as I've found out, and you've obviously found out as well. How do you go about investing in yourself?
Yeah. So you have to continue to learn. The minute you stop learning, you're not helping anybody. So every coach needs their own coach. Right now, I'm investing in myself because I really want to do speaking events. And I realize that I say and a lot, as probably most Americans do at this point.
Mm.
So I am actually investing in a speaking coach. And hopefully, I will be going to Paris. That would be ideal come October to do a speaking event. So yeah, I mean, you do have to, if you want to continue to grow, you have to continue to learn. And sometimes you need somebody who knows more than you do to help you with that. And so I think continually investing in yourself, taking classes, whether it be for speaking, finance in my department, for being a nurse practitioner, I'm constantly doing CME and learning new things about medicine because we can't know it all.
No. Um, you focus on mindset a lot, which is a very huge thing for people. When you were started, obviously you're going from this more negative mindset, we'll say, to this more positive. How did you deal with that? Those days where the negative was kicking down, pretty much kicking ass and taking names,
Yeah.
and running rampant over the positivity, no matter how hard you tried. How did you deal with those days?
So not every day is a good day. But what I really try to do is look at every day as a new day. And so yesterday may have been a really bad day, and I may have gone to bed feeling like, I got kicked in the dirt and rolled around in it. But when I wake up in the morning, I try not to bring a grudge. I try not to, take yesterday's old dirty news and bring it into today and just really treat every day like it's an absolutely clean slate and start over and start the day with, it's a great day, and then go from there. And so I think you're allowed to have bad days. You're going to have them. So, you just tell yourself, it's okay. Today's just one of those days. And pick yourself up the next day, pull the bootstraps up and, strap in for a better day.
Did it take you long to learn that
Yeah.
lesson?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And none of us are perfect, right? We all take steps backwards. And so sometimes you get kicked in the dirt a few days in a row and you're like, yeah, here's that positive mindset you're waking up with, But as long as you keep telling yourself, you keep reminding yourself, you journal. I like to journal. So journaling, manifesting, I like writing my manifestations down. I really think that helps you to kind of start the day in a way that allows you to be positive from the get-go. But yeah, absolutely. It took a long time. I mean, I felt great about myself for a while. And then, like, the divorce papers showed up. And we had renters for a little while, and then they stopped paying. And then the house got repossessed. And then I sat in the Chick-fil-A parking lot crying. And so there's always going to be those times where it seems darker than normal, but you just have to keep reminding yourself, like, it will get better. It will get better. Today's a new day, and refocus.
That is true. That is some very important remember that the next day is a new day. You get a new balance of time to create, buy your life back. I want to jump into the future.
Mhm.
We're 10 years in the future. What are you doing, Marla? What is Wealthy Women Coaching doing? What is Marla doing? How is
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
24-year-old son?
So my dream, and this is part of building, being an entrepreneur and building my own business, is that I want that ability to move about and travel. So my husband and I would like to live on a boat, probably in the Florida, Georgia area. And by the time 10 years comes, I'd like to be out of medicine and just doing this full time. Sitting on my boat doing podcasts would be great. But more important, I know, right? Whose dream isn't that? But more importantly, my son is very athletic and he wants to play football for college and, one day, bless him, the NFL or whatever. So my ideal would be to be able to go to all of his games. And that's actually why I left emergency medicine so many years back and now work in palliative care, because I was leaving work at 4 a.m. and then sitting on the sidelines at 6 a.m. at wrestling tournaments, like falling asleep on the bleachers. And I made a promise to him I wasn't going to continue to miss games or fall asleep at them. And so, this is honestly part of my promise to him is I'm not going to miss things. And so if he goes to Alabama or he goes to Texas A&M, I want to be able to be there. Like, not up his ass, but like, at his games and stuff.
Being there when the games and maybe a day or two after, but let him be his own self growing up. Speaking of your son, I know he's 14, but I want to bring 10-year-old version of you and 10-year-old version of your son here. They're sitting right beside me. What's one piece of advice you would love to be able to hand back to both your 10-year-old self and your 10-year-old son?
I have two. Invest early and often. That's number one. Invest early and often. And that means in yourself, in your financials, in your everyday life. You cannot, what you do one way, you do every, I think I just messed that up. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And so, investing in yourself in all of the ways, your mental health, your finances, how you live your life every day. So invest early and often and invest in yourself. And then the second thing would really be to listen to your gut. We have lost the ability to listen to our gut. We've been told over and over again, that's nothing. But when the hair on the back of your neck stands up and that feeling in your gut is there, it's there for a reason. It's ingrained in you. And when you don't listen to it, you end up regretting it in the long run.
I love those both. I love those both, especially the invest early and often. I think that is such a wise piece of counsel to give to our younger selves. Marla, I'm going to jump off the stage here. I would love for you to let the audience know where they can connect with you, how they can learn more about you. And
Nope, I think I lost you.
What? You there?
You said, hey, okay. You said, tell them about myself and then.
Oh, sorry. So let them know where they can find with you and become part of the Wealthy Women.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me on, Phil. I really appreciate it. It's been great chatting. And if you're looking to reach out to me, I have a couple of groups. I have Wealth Mindset with Marla, and that is my debt management, money management, financial literacy group. And then I have Net Worth Rising on Facebook, which is Women Building Wealth. And that is also a group for women who are already out of debt and looking to learn how to make their money work for them. You can also reach us on the website, which is www.wealthywomencoaching.com. And we have a variety of options available: one-to-one coaching, coaching with your spouse, significant other. We are building a teenager, young adult financial program that we're putting together. And so if you have interest in that, please let me know. And, we can definitely get you the information when it comes out. I also offer corporate training. So if you have a company or you're in HR and you're looking for something else to give your employees, we do have corporate training on financial literacy, debt management, how to set up a dead box, which, if you don't know, is basically all of your financial information in one place, insurance, et cetera, et cetera. So reach out to us, Wealth Mindset with Marla, www.wealthywomencoaching.com, and Net Worth Rising, Women Building Wealth on Facebook.
I love it. Thank you so much, Marla, for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sorry about that. I seem to be having some internet issues. I apologize.
No.
Thank you so much for your being an amazing guest, and for your time here today.
Absolutely. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you to my audience. Make sure you check out the show notes down below to connect with Marla and all the amazing things that she has. I thank you all for listening. And again, always remember to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.